Hello everyone, welcome to Learnowledge. My name is Abhishek Saxena. Today we're going to be starting our journey to learn Angular. So we'll be discussing what is Angular, what are modules, components, services, Angular routing, then we will set up our environment, then we will bootstrap our first application, and then we have a small quiz at the end. So please stay tuned. So what is Angular? Angular is an application design framework and development platform for creating efficient and sophisticated single-page application using HTML and TypeScript. It is written in TypeScript and developed by Google Incorporation. They first released the Angular 2 in September 2016, and the latest release was Angular 11 in November 2020. So Angular comprises of modules, components, services, and of course, Angular routing as a service. We're going to be discussing in brief. In every application, there are at least one module, and there can have n numbers of functional modules. The root module, we call it as app module. It is a convention that Angular developers follows. Any module can import the functionality from any other module, and also they can be exported to any other module to provide the functionalities. So any typical module comprises of @ ng module decorator, which accepts one argument, which is JSON of declaration, imports, exports, providers, bootstraps. Next up is components. Every application has one or more components. There is one root component. We call it as app component, which is basically a TypeScript class, and it comprises of logic. So every component having a selector, it contains the HTML template, and also it contains the CSS styles. So you see here in the snippet, we have decorated our TS class with @ component, and it accepts one argument of a JSON. Services. So in our development, there are various other logic which doesn't belong to any particular component, and it can be reusable in any other component. So we put those logic into several services, and that can be served to the multiple components. It doesn't associate any view, and it can be exported to different modules. Routing. Routing is basically a service that provides a navigation path. It connects the URL to the corresponding page or component. You can also lazy load a module using routing to bootstrap your application. It also accepts the URL parameter to customize the views, and also it provides the authorization for a given route. So a typical Angular routing contains one TypeScript variable, which is basically an array of JSON of path and components. So we can provide the URL path and their corresponding component to map the URL to the component. Next up, we'll be setting up an environment. We will be needing Node.js to translate our TypeScript code to the JavaScript, as web browsers only understand the JavaScript and HTML. Also, we're going to be needing any coding editor. I personally prefer the Visual Studio Code. And we're going to be running some commands. So we're going to be starting our first application. For node installation, you can go to this link which is available in the description, and based on your operating system, currently I'm running on Windows x64, so you can use long-term support version or the current version. I personally prefer the long-term support, so click on long-term support. Then we have our installation ready, so you can simply click on it. Next, accept the license. Next, check the installation directory. Next, again next. You can check this one out if you want to install Chocolatey. Next, I'm gonna be pausing my video for a while. So once done, it will says like completed Node.js setup wizard. Click on finish. Then open up your command prompt and you can type like node hyphen version. So it will return the 14.15.1 version if it is successfully installed. Now you need a code editor. So for Visual Studio Code, you can go to this link code.visualstudio.com, which is also available in the description, and you can click for Windows. I've already installed this into my machine. So let's get started. We can open a command prompt and we can run some commands of node. So this is npm, which is node package manager, and it is basically it's a hub to install various dependencies for your project. So the command is npm space install -g, which will be globally installing your dependencies, and we need Angular CLI. So @Angular/CLI. Angular CLI, it's a tool available to bootstrap your application using commands. So we can simply create our application using Angular CLI commands, and also we can serve our application onto our server. Let's just give it a minute. Let's install. Now I would just go to any of the directory and I would just run ng space new space my app name. I would go with my app. Go install. So it will ask you whether to enforce a stricter. Press Y, hit enter. Would you like to add Angular routing? Yes. For style sheet, we have various options. We can go with CSS, we can go with SCSS, you can go with Sass, LAS, Stylus. For this particular tutorial, I would suggest to go with CSS. That's it. It will create all the supporting files for you automatically, so you don't need to create any setup by yourself. And it also create your app component, app module, and your app routing. Once done, you'll have the logs like it has successfully installed your packages, and also it says it successfully initialized the Git. We will cover this Git in later part of our journey. Now we can simply go to our installation directory and we can run some code. So if you have installed the Visual Studio Code, so we have a command like code space dot to give it as a current directory, space, enter. So it will open up our code piece into Visual Studio Code. So if you look into the folder structure, we have various JSONs, various configuration files which you can configure based on your need. Also, the major one is the package.json. So you see we have installed our Angular core 11.0.1, so which is the latest version, and also it has the detailing of all of your dependencies. And in your source folder under app we have our app module, which is having one declaration of app component. Also it imports two of the modules, one is browser and another one is app routing, and it also bootstrap the app component. If you look into the app component, it is having one decorator at the component, and it's having a JSON containing the selector, template URL, and the style URL. So this selector, it tells the router to where to go. So we have this main TS, which is responsible for bootstrapping our application, and if you go to the index.html, you see we have app routing here. So this is same as the app component. So whenever our application will find this tag app-root, it will know like what it needs to render as a view and as a TypeScript. Also, we are having a routing class here. So it contains a blank routes as of now, and it exports the route module. To run this, if you're using Visual Studio Code, so you can go down and you can drag the terminal from the bottom of it, and you can run ng space serve. So what it will do, it will compile all of our TypeScript code, create chunks, create a build, and also it opens up a port for you and deploy our application. Let's just give it a minute. So compilation is successful, and Angular Live Development Server is listening on localhost colon 4200. You can simply copy this, go to any of your browser, paste it, enter, and there you go. We have our first application up and running. So this is the default page which is coming by default by Angular, just having few of the detailings and links for documentations and few other commands here that you can refer. So this is how you can create a new application, and you can compile it and you can deploy it locally. To terminate this whole process, you can simply press Ctrl C and it will terminate the server for you. Now let's just get back to our next item, which is a quiz. So I'm gonna be giving you 10 seconds to give me the correct answer. So what is the full form of NPM? So you have the options on the screen. So Your correct answer is Node Packet Manager. So if you have selected this, congratulations. So that is all for today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit like on this video, and you can drop your comments for all your suggestions and queries, and also you can hit the bell icon so that you won't miss any update. Thank you.